Hey everybody, so this is an interesting video because, well, this isn't necessarily the most entertaining place to make a video, especially if any of you have seen the Power Quench video. This doesn't really add up to the intense level of the Power Quench, but a very necessary video for a couple reasons. I actually want to start off with a story. I work in a nursing home. Weird, whatever. But I work at a nursing home during the week every once in a while, and just kind of cleaning things up, doing maintenance and stuff like that. And today I walked into work, and my boss said, "Hey Andrew, this is what I need you to do. I need you to take this Wirebrush, and I need you to go around to all the doors that go to the outside, and I need you to clean the metal grates, the thresholds that are sitting under the doors. They just need to be cleaned." And so I was like, all right, cool. So I grabbed my handy metal brush and I went to all the doors, and the first door I go to, I opened up the door and I looked down at the metal grate, and there's pretty much a black grate. And these things were originally like shiny silver. And I'm looking down and I'm just like, oh, this is gonna be fun. And I get down on my hands and knees and I start scrubbing, and I'm going, and literally, like, every threshold took me a good 35 minutes. It was just crazy. It was ridiculous. And honestly, by the fifth one, I was getting kind of annoyed. And I'm taking this thing, I'm scrubbing back and forth. I'm like, man, this is really annoying. Why am I having to do this? And then I thought to myself, you know, if somebody was smart enough to stinking, like, take a broom, like, 12 years ago, before this was all caked up, you know, when they just saw a little bit of dirt, I wouldn't have to be on my hands and knees with this thing trying to, like, push down and scrape across this metal. It'd be all good, and I'd be able to be clean. And I was just sitting there thinking, irritated. I was like wishing that somebody would have just brushed it off instead of letting it cake up. Now, this is kind of where this morning kind of threw me for a loop. Literally, as I started thinking about this, I sat down and I sat back and I looked at the grate after it was all clean, and I thought to myself, wow, this is the closest tie to my life that I think I've ever seen before. I know that's weird. A brush and a threshold that's covered in dirt. Well, here's the thing. Just for an example, bear with me for a second. I want you to do this. Picture yourself as a metal grate under a door, a threshold, somewhere where the door can close and be sealed and people are walking all over it. So just picture yourself as that, because that's what I'm going to do for this next few minutes. I'm picturing myself as a threshold. Now here's how I'm picturing myself as this threshold. I am a threshold that is caked in dirt and mud. And you know, of course, the tie, the dirt and mud being my sin, the things that are separating me from God, the things that I keep letting into my life that it shouldn't be, the things I'm doing behind closed doors, the lies I'm telling, the friends I'm hurting, whatever the case is, I am caked up in dirt. And I'm at a point, and I'm being honest with you right now, I'm not just pretending. Right now, in my heart, right now in my life, at this moment, I'm at a point where I've realized that I'm caked in dirt, and I've had to ask God to pull this puppy out, the Wirebrush. Now, this thing is not pleasant, especially if you're going to be picturing yourself as a threshold. If I'm getting scraped off, this thing's going to hurt. It's going to scratch me up. It's going to bleed. It's not going to be a fun process, but I'm so caked up with dirt, and I've got so much sin that I've kind of let just build up in my life and some past things, that this is the only way to get clean now, and this is the only way that God's going to be able to get me clean, and I'm working through that process. Now, it didn't have to be that way, and I want to back up and say this. You know, there were little things that in my life, and this is for you guys as well, you know, there were little things that were getting in my way, and the little sins that would come every day, and they'd come at me, and I'd take them, and what I'd do is I'd try to push them away, and I'd think that they'd, you know, get caught in the corners and nobody would really care, because my pride was too thick. I didn't want to admit that something was going wrong. I didn't want people to see that there was failures going on, that I was doing things and sinning, and I didn't want to admit it to God, even though he could see it. I didn't want to admit it to my friends and family. That's just not something I wanted to do. If my pride wasn't so thick, if I would have been able to push that out of the way, I would have been able to say, God, I'm really sorry for what I did. I would have been able to admit my sin, ask for forgiveness, and be able to, and honestly, I should have been able to trust God and knowing that he was going to be able to take a broom instead of this thing and brush me clean. And it would have been just a little sweep and no problems, and I would have been fine. And I would have been able to keep away from letting things build up and into bigger sin or whatever the case is. I just would have been able to not be caked up. And, it was me being too prideful to admit the fact that I was making huge mistakes. And even the little ones, they built up too. And so here's the thing. I want to encourage you guys. For those of you who are at that point where you're a little bit dirty, there's things that are happening in your everyday life, and you're starting to maybe let it build up a little bit, and you're not admitting it. Seriously, make it an urgency right now to admit the things that are going wrong in your life, the sins that you keep committing, the patterns that you keep falling into. Admit it now. Ask God for forgiveness and trust the fact that he's going to take that broom and he's going to brush you clean. And there's going to be no problems, and you're going to be able to live in peace and enjoy, and that's so important. Make it an urgency. Seriously, stop the video if you need to. Go talk to your parents, your friends, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the case is. Tell them the lie that you told them. Tell them what you said behind their back. Tell them about the things you've been doing behind closed doors. Tell them about the thoughts you've been having, the hard times you've been dealing with, the sins you've been having. Whatever the case is, make an effort right now to ask for forgiveness and do it now. It might hurt a little bit right now in this instant, but it's going to be so much better than having to deal with this thing later on.